and a new year lapsed when the cold made us numb. We rough and ready were all bundled up. We held back conserved energy like a young pup. In anticipation, which was so very high, our drum mallet beats began entering the sky. At location, Old City Hall with its new face, still on Queen Street at its usual place. Everyone was apparelled in holiday cheer for an annual rite set for the new year. Hope was triggered for a better tomorrow, putting behind any of yesterday's sorrow. The countdown led to the clock strike 12. The sparkles began. In mantra we delved. Fireworks popping, revealing their powers. Their reflections we viewed from those glassy towers. The crowds did swell from that moment on. Things got tighter and tighter on pavement and lawn. The sounds were volumed from our vocal cords and from party animals, ladies and lords. Smiles stretched across round heads for sure, in a groove that hinted more towards the pure. While the smell of pot was so thick in the air, there was actually very little feeling of despair. The mood was good, and our hearts did beat as we stood so long on unrelenting feet, burning our lungs in the center of this cold. All that were there were really oh so bold. While welcoming in another round to go, the winds of time make calendar pages blow. Okay, Haribo. Okay, so thank you so much for listening to that. Let us then begin, okay, with our normal prayers to Prabhupada, the two prana mantras, to the Panchatattva Mahamantra, and then to the Mahamantra. All right, ready to go? Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishnapastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. Thank you so much. Let's go to page 1. The invocational mantra is just under the word introduction, page 1. And it is up for screening there. Om Jnana Tamarandasya. Please repeat. Gyananjana Shalakaya. Chakshurun Militan Yena. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, we'll skip the next verse and go to the English translation of that. I was born in the darkest ignorance.
I was born in the darkness of ignorance.
And my spiritual master opened my eyes.
And my spiritual master opened my eyes
with the torch of knowledge.
with the torch of knowledge.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto him.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto him.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I was wondering if Vaishnavi could just let us know which shloka we're on.
We are on 11.4.
11.4. 11.4, we did score. Okay. Okay, so I'll start with this verse. I'll do the Sanskrit. Manyase yati tachakyam maya drashtum iti prabho yogeshvara tato metwang darshayatmanam avyayam. Translation. If you think that I'm unable to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that unlimited universal self. Okay, can we get some volunteers? Vaishnavi, would you like to pull someone for reading half of the purport, and we get another person to read the second half?
I can read.
Yes, please.
All right.
Okay, it is said that one can neither see, hear, understand, nor perceive the Supreme Lord Krishna by the material senses. But if one is engaged in loving transcendental service to the Lord from the beginning, then one can see the Lord by revelation. Every living entity is only a spiritual spark. Therefore, it is not possible to see or to understand the Supreme Lord. Arjuna, as a devotee, does not depend on his speculative strength. Rather, he admits his limitations as a living entity and acknowledges Krishna's unestimable position.
Very good. Thank you, Arjun.
Thank
And
you.
can we get someone else to volunteer for the second half?
Mike, do you want to read the second half?
Thank you, Mike.
Hare Krishna. Arjuna could understand that for a living entity, it is not possible to understand the unlimited infinite. If the infinite reveals himself, then it is possible to understand the nature of the infinite by the grace of the infinite. The word Yogeshvara is also very significant here because the Lord has inconceivable power. If he likes, he can reveal himself by his grace, although he is unlimited. Therefore, Arjuna pleads for the inconceivable grace of Krishna. He does not give Krishna orders. Krishna is not obliged to reveal himself unless one surrenders fully in Krishna consciousness and engages in devotional service. Thus, it is not possible for persons who depend on the strength of their mental speculations to see Krishna.
Thank you very much for that fantastic reading by both Arjun and also by Mike. Hare Krishna. Let's look at, we had been encouraging all of you to make a list of all the names that would apply Krishna, names that would be attributed to Arjuna as well. And here we have the word Yogeshwara, which is one of the last words of the entire Bhagavad Gita, and it appears here again, or firstly. And Yogeshwara is, you can say it's a flattery word. It means, I know you can do anything. I know you're capable. You can do magic. You can do miracles, is really what Arjuna is saying. So could you do just one more miracle? And I would like to see the cosmic form. And do recall that in the last couple of sessions we had, or perhaps just the last one, um, Arjuna is appealing to Krishna, saying that I'm doing basically, I'm doing this for others. It's not for me. I'm totally convinced of who you are. In the previous chapter, Arjuna says, Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramang Bhavan. To put it in the short terms, he was just saying, okay, I got it. I finally got it. You're God. That's it. Bang. Yeah, but other people might need more convincing. And this is one way that they may be convinced, to be able to see the universal form. If you could show it, if it can be described in some, but please reveal it to me. And that would be just absolutely wonderful. That is one of the words that devotees like to use. It's wonderful. It says, how was your festival, Prabhu? Oh, it was wonderful. Yeah. So Krishna will do something wondrous. When he creates, it's wondrous. When he destroys, it's wondrous. The way he maintains, it's also wondrous. It's not a simple task. It's well, it's simple for him, but there's a lot of details, and there's a lot of what you can say. It's very sensational. That's a good word to describe. So, anyways, show me that unlimited universal self is his request. And he also takes a humble position. If you think that I'm ready, I might not be ready. I might not be able to take this in, but you know me better than anybody else. You can see through me. You know if I'm capable or not. So that's the basic message. Kindly show me that that you have the ability to show. I want that darshan, if it's possible. The word there in the last line is darshyatmanam, right? Please show. Also in the second line, drashtam, to be seen. God is to be seen, you know. God is to be seeing also. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj used to use that saying, said, don't be so anxious to see the Lord, but do something in such a way that he'll want to come and see you, you know, to have your darshan, so to speak. Yeah. I know that in our search for higher consciousness, before we came to Krishna consciousness, many of us have probably been in this position, said, God, if you're there, show yourself to me. I want to be convinced that you really are there. Okay, maybe God will come. He did it for Dhruva. He did it for Prahlad. Maybe he'll do it for you too. Of course, we're not on the level of these esteemed Vaishnavas. But, God will come in a group, in a form, but God may also come to answer your questions, and he'll present himself in many different ways. Doesn't have to be one way. Don't forget, he's Yogeshwara. He's the supreme mystic. He can come many different ways. Hare Krishna. Those are just some opening thoughts and remarks on this verse and the purport. Sorry, sleepy sometimes. All right. So anybody have any questions or comments in regards to what we just read? Any thoughts at all? I see some people are in their cars. Watch you driving. Any comments
Maharaj,
at all? Yeah.
Maharaj, I got a question. Is it wrong to want to see God's universal form? Is it like asking too much? I mean, I know he's unlimitless, but is it like disrespectful to ask this?
No, I think it's okay. I think it's all right. I mean, you can try him out if you want. The only thing is that Arjun was super qualified, right? And we might not be in that category. If Krishna doesn't seem to answer, it just means that maybe we're not ready. And I think we can take some guidance from the mood of Arjuna in the beginning. He said, if you think that I'm able, if you think that I'm ready, then pretty please, could you show this to me? But this is the point. Are we really qualified to see all these things? Okay. Once I was here doing Sankirtan on Yonge Street. It's the major street here in Toronto. This goes back some years. And I got picked up by the police, and so did two other brahmacharis. And for some reason, they were let go. But there was some kind of problem in their data, in their records. So they put me in a prison, in the cell, after questioning, and I was in a room full of other people. And while I was there in prison, I met Krishna, or somebody who thought that he was God, right? And When I was in there, some of the guys were saying, because I had my dhoti and kurta on, said, well, why are you in here? You guys don't do anything wrong, do you? And they said, well, we try not to. And then there was one fellow in there. He looked pretty together. He was young and pretty together. And he said, I'm God. I said, oh, really? You're God? Oh, that's very interesting. Well, if you're God, why are you behind bars? Should be free. And then he gave an answer which kind of shocked me. It's almost as if he had read some of Prabhupada's books, and he said, I'm here now, but I can leave here at my own sweet will. And I didn't want to continue the conversation. I was just not interested in prolonging dialogue with a kook, in my estimation. I didn't want to waste my time. But the point is, the Lord is free, swarat. Swarat is a Sanskrit word. It means that you're independent, you're free. You're not bound by anything, you know. So I would just say, Adhikartaprabhu, you can put Krishna to the test. And if he happens to show his universal form, can you give me a call and have your cell phone ready and show me one of the
I will
angles of you?
definitely. I will see if I could. I'll see if he'll allow me to take a video.
Somebody's trying to reach me. Okay, so that is if it is revealed. Now we understand that this was kind of a private endeavor, but people did see the universal form. Some people did witness. There were some people that saw this. And then we're also to indicate that it was a very strong connection between Krishna and Arjuna. And that's about it. So we might get some contradictory remarks on that. So I'm just going to ask you all to pay special attention to what Prabhupada says in the purports. We may have to conclude that this universal form is so mystical that may have been seen and may have not been seen. That's how mystical it is. But let's just go back. Certain persons who are qualified could see aspects of the universal form. Mother Yashoda, when her baby Krishna was, let's say, accused of having eaten dirt, and then Krishna was a little bit on the defensive. And he said, they're just complaining. Everyone's complaining, all the boys, especially Balaram, because I didn't want to play anymore, or they wanted me to stay a little longer. So they're just making up these stories about me, so they get you into, they get me into trouble. So Mother Yashoda then said, okay, son, if you have, let's see if you've eaten any dirt at all. And so when he opened up your mouth, so he opened up his mouth, and then she looked inside and she saw the universal form. She even saw herself looking into her boy's mouth, that was one of the features. Duryodhana saw a feature of the universal form when Krishna made negotiations for peace. And that was seen by others as well. So it's not like a super big secret. So Adhikarta, you might have an in. You just might, the doors may open for you. The gates to the palace may just open up and show you something. But don't ask while you're driving, okay? I was once, it happened more than once on my walks in the early morning in September. September is the time to see the borealis, the northern lights. And that is maybe the closest thing that I could think of, like on planet Earth, where you can see the universal form. So if you're up north and you're in the prairies, or you're up in the territories in Canada, that is, I think that probably in Minneapolis or Minnesota, You could probably can see, and the Dakotas, you might catch the northern lights. Am I right about that?
Hare Krishna
I think
Maharaj.
it
I
is
one time.
possible.
Okay. So the only time I can tell anybody or even try to describe to anybody about witnessing God is women, they probably already know this, but as a guy, I tell people when I see my first child being born, that's the closest description as I can describe of seeing God, you know.
Wow, that's pretty beautiful. I like that so much. Do you want to repeat that again?
Well, like I was saying that most women they're there, so they already know about God. Like I always try to explain to guys, like women, like that's why they're the most beloved thing that understands more about God than we do. But being there to witness a child being born is the closest thing that I've ever witnessed to seeing God.
That's amazing. Yeah, but anybody else agree with Adi Karta?
I would agree with that 100%, Maharaj. When my daughter was born, it was the same thing. It was literally like looking in the face of God. It was, yeah, just that miracle of life and just how that immediate, complete change and how small you feel immediately is, it's quite spectacular.
Wow. I'm looking at Gora. Thank you. I'm looking at Gora Chandra, and I think he agrees as well. comments, Gora Chandra. Not on that one.
No comment, Maharaj.
Okay.
But I have a question whenever you're ready.
Okay. We're going to be ready shortly. Is there anybody else like to say what is the closest thing they saw? They was revealed to them that say, "Oh, here is God," or "Here's a manifestation of God." Anybody else like to say anything on that one?
Maharaj, I would like to mention that we had a friend of my husband leaving his body there in Mayapur in our apartment. And just witnessing how when he first found out that he's terminally ill, how he went through some depression that usually happens when you find out you're going to die. So some depression. Then he accepted it, and it was really amazing to watch him, how actually Krishna was so present, just coming in the room. And then Janani was Pankajang, they were there every day. And it was such a experience of like the spiritual world waiting for him also. So that was my experience of Krishna being present.
Do I know that person by chance?
And Nirguna, he was, Prabhupada disciple. He lived in Alachua. He was doing a lot of Sankirtan, university preaching.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you, Sankalpa, for revealing that to us. And if there's anybody else who would like to say the closest thing they saw to God was blank, such and such. Okay.
I had an experience. I don't know if I didn't see anything, but last year in December, me and my wife went to the Dominican Republic, and we were supposed to stay at this hotel. Well, because they canceled the flight and it was just a mess. The hotel said we couldn't stay there and we had to book another hotel. And my wife was getting kind of mad. And the next day, like we had like all these problems and this and that. And I said, okay, I don't like to ask Krishna for anything, but I said, Krishna, I said, if you can't resolve this problem, it's okay. If not, then I'm still gonna try to love you. And not even 5 minutes after that, I got a phone call saying like, oh yeah, everything is good. It was so crazy. I was like, wow. But it got resolved, everything, and like so fast. I was like, wow. But yeah, that at least that was one of my experiences with. I always, believe that Krishna is God, and I believe, but
Beautiful. I'm glad you all had your own personal encounters in some way or another, making a confirmation that Krishna is there for you. Yeah, thank you. So we can go to Chandra, who's got a question. All right.
Yes, Maharaj. Arjun's qualification to see the Virat Roop is that he's a great devotee. What's the qualification of Duryodhana to see that partial Virat Roop?
His qualification to even see Krishna in his original form is quite astounding, isn't it? I mean, the universal form or a portion of it seen by Duryodhana directly is very secondary to him seeing Krishna. We know that Duryodhana was quite offensive, and yeah, there isn't much qualification from the standpoint of devotion itself, but it is part of Leela, and Krishna conscripts people to be in his Leela, in his drama, if I can use that term. And he selects devotees, actually. And when you're going to have a drama, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be some struggle that you deal with. And even Krishna allowed himself to deal with the struggle of Duryodhana, who was quite a stubborn fellow. And so his qualification that he's some kind of devotee, and that's certainly one way to respond to your question. That whether it's Kamsa or Duryodhana or Hiranyakashipu or any of these kind of megalomaniacs, if you don't use that expression, in the background of their existence, they were some kind of devotees. And they earned the role of playing the villain, you could say. So it was part of his drama, and Krishna loves dramas. He loves stories, of struggle. But he always leaves everything at a happy ending. So that's, he seems to engross himself and engross others absorb others in his pastimes. So to make a story good, there has to be, you go up hills, you go down valleys, and so on like that. It's up and down. And so that arrangement was made for Duryodhana to see a portion of an angle of his universal form. Yeah. There are some other instances, but the ones we mentioned are most primary. So, you can say he's lucky, but
Frozen.
Yes, he is. So,
Shall we sing the Shinga prayers?
yes, please.
Namaste Narasimhaya Paladadadadai Hiranyakashipu Vakshaha Shilatakanakai Ito Nishinga Parato Nishinga Yato Yato Yamita Nishinga Bahia Nishinga Idaya Nishinga Nashinga Manisha
Prabhade.
Adbhuta Shunya Salutari Anyakashipu Tanovinam Ekanovinam Nadarami Mukha Nadarami Jai Jagadish Jai Jagadish Hari. Jaya Nishingade, Jaya Nishingade, Nishingade, Jaya Nishingade, Paratmana, 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 Jaya Paratmana, Paratmana, Jaya Paratmana, Hare Krishna, Jaya Hare Krishna, Narayani, Jaya Narayani, Jaya Narayani, Jaya Narayani. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama Gaurchandra Prabhu, can you please call Maharaj?
Hare Krishna,
Oh, he's here. He's here.
Is he there?
Yeah, he's here.
All right, thank you.
Rama, Rama, Rama,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'm just going to shut off my video, and maybe that will give me a little extra strength.
Okay.
So thank you very much. You can all hear me?
Yes,
Yes, Maharaj.
Thank you. I missed out on your lovely kirtan. Okay, so go to Chandra Prabhu. Then we responded the best we could on that one. Are you there?
Yes.
Thank you.
Bless you, honey child. Bless you.
All right.
All right. So then let's carry on then. Anybody else have some comments on this? You know, I think it's an important shloka. Arjun's asking not a simple question. He's asking for a big one, you know, but then there isn't anything that's too big for Krishna, to be honest with you. Krishna is bound to please his devotee, to satisfy him. And so he's saying, he'll let us know. He's going to tell us, he's going to reveal, make himself available. Okay, any other thoughts, Prabhus?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandot Pranam, Guru Prabhupada.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I read some in Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada purports long time back, I think. So I remember many the non-devotees or who are not the devotees of pure devotees of Lord, so they are under Maya, and in spite of Krishna present there personally, they are not able to appreciate Krishna as God. But the devotees, being like Arjuna or Pandavas, they are under influence of Yoga Maya, so they appreciate, they know Krishna as God. But Duryodhan being present at the same place, same time, but he's not under Yoga Maya, he's under Maya effect. So he's not able to appreciate Krishna as God. So that's what I read, written by Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, those are good points. But one is still left to wonder how Duryodhana was able to be qualified to see the universal form. So, but definitely Duryodhana is lacking mercy, lacking respect from Krishna, lacking grace, and therefore he was not able to really comprehend what this all means. At best, Duryodhana would consider that Krishna is a mystic of sorts. He can do wizardry, he can play in mystical tricks, and but that's about it. But he would not be able to see Krishna as God, that he's not qualified for that. So yeah, because he's influenced by some kind of power that doesn't allow him to see. But if we go a little bit deeper into understanding Duryodhana's character, he is some kind of devotee, otherwise he wouldn't be in this Leela, intimately connected with him. Same thing with Kamsa. So, you're dealing with different levels of spirituality here. So sometimes gets a little complicated, no doubt. But somehow or other, Duryodhana was fortunate enough to have Krishna in his presence. And I think any of us, if we were to be there at that particular time, we consider ourselves, like to be very auspicious. So on the one hand, Duryodhana's what would you say, a douchebag? I just learned that terminology today, a douchebag. And on the other hand, there is behind him, there's a deep devotion for Krishna. Yeah. All right.
Maharaj, a tiny little short interjection. Dying in the presence of God, it grants at least liberation. And Duryodhana, he was killed in front of Krishna. So anyway.
Yeah, we have to accept this kind of comprehension as well, that anyone dies before the Lord, like we take example of Bhishma Dev, or and that's one of his last images. There's great fortune there. So it's a little bit simplistic to actually come to a quick conclusion, sort of a black and white conclusion that Duryodhana was just a bad person. There was something good in his background in order for him to have the great privilege to have the Lord before him, talk to him, and to be able to see him as one of the last images before he left this world. Yeah, no doubt. We shouldn't cancel out that idea. Yeah, we have to look at many different angles when it comes to these spiritual subject matters. All right, so you can say Duryodhana was a dirty guy. On the other hand, you can say something else about him, So that's why spiritual vision should bring us to the point of seeing different levels. Now we're going to hear a description of the universal form. In the beginning, it invoked awe and reverence in Duryodhana as he was seeing this. But then it changed. This more horrific side of the universal form was manifest, and that changed the mood of Arjuna as well. He got quite intimidated. So those are some remarks. But thank you for bringing that up. Anything else, Bruce? Anything else that pops into your head in regard to
I'd just like to, I'm just getting this feeling, like the one takeaway I was getting from it is like what you said in the beginning, you know, like Arjuna is asking Krishna, if you think I'm ready to behold your form. So like, you know, the idea that Krishna knows us better than we know ourselves. And I think like just even the conversations we're now having, I think, do you think the confusion that some of this is bringing up about Duryodhana is like also that fact that Krishna knows better, so like we're going to be confused by some of his decisions, and that's kind of his magnificence, is that he knows better than us.
Yes, Krishna, what he does with his Leela, he's set to puzzle us. Yeah, there's no doubt about that, you know, because Krishna's deep. You know, there's depth in him, in his character, in the way he plays out these dramas. He's definitely forcing us to explore and to go as deep into the mysteries of his understanding as possible. Yeah. He's putting us through a journey, you know, and when you are set to go on a journey of adventure, you're going to go through lots of emotions, and that's what Krishna is set to do.
It even made me think when we were talking about Yogeshwara, when you mentioned that he, you know, Duryodhana thought he was a wizard, you know, and it's that same idea of the mysticism that can be seen in multiple ways, but you know, we're not supposed to understand all necessarily, right?
Right. There are lots of queries that enter our mind just from the things that we see in this world, and it may occur every day, if not, but it leaves us to wonder and force us to. It should trigger some interest in psychic phenomena, and you know, ultimately believing in a greater power, Yogeshwara, ultimately, yeah. So human beings are kind of special. The verse we looked at today in the Bhagavatam is just a reinforcement by Krishna talking to Uddhava that there is always going to be this human form of life is a very special situation whereby we get to see incredible things in this world that are stunning, that we can say as miraculous. And this should just somehow or other, when we have these visions or these thoughts or experiences, they should be like a catalyst for us to develop an interest to go deeper into our Krishna consciousness. Krishna's personality is not just like a flat cartoon character. He's very deep. He's very deep in what he does. So we should just honor his Yogeshwara ability and leave it at that. You know, he's capable of doing anything and everything. And the fact that Arjuna was so much believing in Krishna's ability to do anything is what prodded him on to ask this question. Do you think I could see your universal form? Obviously, Arjuna said, I heard about it before. Others have seen it. You know, is it time now where I can have a glimpse of this? It would be so nice. And mainly for the benefit of others. You know, Arjuna was really stuck on Krishna as his friend. He was quite happy to just have him as a buddy, you can say. And to really just cherish the charm of Krishna as the two-armed individual. He didn't need to see any other aspect of Krishna. That comes clear later on in the chapter. So he was happy to have that form, but he knew Krishna was capable of doing many things. All right, just some remarks on that. Anything else anybody like to bring up?
Maharaj, as
Yes.
Mike was talking, I was thinking that what is interesting that Arjuna asked to see the Virat Rupa, but Duryodhana did not even ask for it, and he got it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, Krishna revealed the universal form to Duryodhana. It was to bewilder him. It was to throw him off. Krishna turned his back on Arjuna. He was just left. He said what he wanted to say. He was turning his back, moving in the direction of the Pandavas. He acted as a messenger, as you know. And Duryodhana, with cunning, decided this is the time to get Krishna while he's turned his back, when he's not looking. And then Krishna picked up on this. He said, I know what he's thinking. I'll reveal my universal form. I'll bewilder him. I'll bamboozle him. I'll throw him off. I'll jolt him. And that's, in fact, we just finished doing a short film on this called The Embassy. And on that very point, it ends on that note. Krishna reveals his universal form. Duryodhana goes bananas. He goes crazy. And he doesn't come to the right conclusion. Krishna's God. But he does know that Krishna's powerful. And he's feeling that if we can eliminate Krishna, we will be victors. We will be victorious in this battle against the Pandavas. Yeah, so those are some points. Thank you for bringing that up. Is there anything else anybody would like to say? Okay, then what we can do with the remainder of the time is we can go to the next shloka. Why not? Is there somebody who would like to volunteer to give us the verse? And if you want, you can give us the Sanskrit as well.
Can I read, Maharaj?
I think you have to ask yourself, you're the host.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Pashya me partha rupani shatashodha sahasrashaha nana vidhani divyani nana varna kritina.
Cha.
Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, O son of Pritha, see now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied, divine, and multicolored forms.
Okay, great. Very good. And can we get someone to read the purport then, please?
Yeah. Rasaraj Prabhu, Sankalpa, somebody, please.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So Arjuna wanted to see Krishna in his universal form, which, although a transcendental form, is just manifested for the cosmic manifestation and is therefore subject to the temporary time of this material nature. As the material nature is manifested and not as the material nature is manifested and not manifested, similarly this universal form of Krishna is manifested and non-manifested. It is not eternally situated in the spiritual sky like Krishna's other forms. As far as a devotee is concerned, he is not eager to see the universal form. But because Arjuna wanted to see Krishna in this way, Krishna reveals this form. This universal form is not possible to be seen by any ordinary man. Krishna must give one the power to see it.
Mhm. Okay, great. So what we're to understand here, it takes a special person, a unique individual, and we can put Duryodhana in that category. There's no doubt he's a unique person. Being able to have dialogue with him directly and so on. Like he's somehow or other has become a qualified person to to have this exchange with the Lord. So I would just say that it's not ordinary, but it's extraordinary, this manifestation that's being revealed. And there are lots of opulences. Krishna's opening up these hundreds of thousands of very divine, multicolored forms. This is like a multimedia presentation, practically, like a big screen, only the sky is the screen. And, some people have been able to become the witness to this. So with chapter, or text 5, sorry, Krishna is saying, okay, here it goes. These are the beginnings of the universal form. Yeah. So an important point here is that devotees like Arjuna prefer to see the human-like image of Krishna. They don't necessarily are not interested in the universal form. It doesn't grab their attention in the same way. But for those who, let's say, need a phantasmagoria, Krishna will reveal it to them. He'll give it to them. So in that way, Krishna gives people what they want. Okay, so it'll come up later on in this chapter that it is devotees are interested in Krishna, who is like a human, someone you could practically touch. It's a relationship, it's closeness on a kind of a human level. That is what devotees prefer, as opposed to this fantastic manifestation of the Lord, the many forms, the many images. Yeah. So what about you, Prabhus? Would you like to see the universal form? Or you have some, anybody, would you like to? I know Adhikar is going to try to make a prayer, and he's going to get back to us now.
Not this person.
You're not interested?
Well, I mean, it's not that I'm not interested, but, I have to be realistic about my aspirations.
All right. Okay. So I guess you're sold out on the idea you'd like to see Krishna come and can sit next to you and just have some chat with you.
Oh, heavens, no. I'll be happy to be serving the bumblebees and the dragonflies around Lord Nityananda's arena somewhere, somehow, however far away.
Okay. That's beautiful. That's where you're at. That's wonderful. Yeah, sure. That's a very nice thought. Anybody else?
Maharaj, I've read this part a few different times, and I can really relate with Arjuna, where I think at first it would be very amazing, but as it unfolded, it would almost become terrifying.
Yes.
And I like that, even in some of the different illustrations that I've seen of it, some of it can be quite, it's funny, you see it at first, and then the more you kind of go into the pictures of it, it's terrifying. So yeah, I agree. I would like a friendlier version, or to just prefer to be the servant.
Right. Yes, I agree. Before I came to Krishna consciousness, Jimi Hendrix was everybody's hero, and he put out that album, Axis is Bold, I think that's what it was. And we had all these kind of like demigods, in the sky, their faces, in the middle, to replace the image of Vishnu was the Jimmy's face, We might consider that kind of like sacrilegious, but I just thought, oh yeah, that looks fine. It was pretty tame looking, that he's in there. I guess someone got the idea. Let's put him in there. We don't need Krishna. And I'm sure Jimmy didn't know what he was doing, but what they were doing with him. he was probably a little bit too stoned to really understand what was going on, but certainly it was very, in those days, 60s, late 60s, it was intriguing to see these images, the elephant god, the lion, all these images up there. It was so exotic, for us, for our eyes, We hadn't seen these kind of things before. What do they all have in common, even, with each other? It was almost not relatable. It was from another world, another planet. But yeah, as intriguing as it is, it'd be nice if we could just settle for Krishna's, humanity, if we could use that term. All right, but most of us need to be reverential first, right? To think in terms of being a servant, as opposed to having a buddy system with God. We do have a buddy system. That's the Paramatma in the heart, And if you've ever worked with a buddy system like you would go with a group of people in the bush and the forest, and it's usually good to have somebody next to you, And if that person next to you is someone very revered, then you feel, you're in special company. It feels very privileged. So we should feel privileged in any case, however God may come to us. So by his own desire or by the desire of others, we should feel privileged. And what about if you just carry on in normal life? Can you, Prabhus, can you believe that Krishna is in your heart? Can you believe that Krishna is understood and felt and fully comprehended by the trees that are next to you in your walk, by the snow or whatever, or by the radishes that are in your garden? Just talking about Vaishnavi's son, how he pulled out harvested some. Can you start to see Krishna in all these things? Would be nice. And we should be happy with whatever way he comes to us, right? Any other remarks, revelations?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to
Haribol, so
your
good to hear
lotus
from you.
feet, Maharaj. Maharaj, my observation is that, since I'm a frequent traveler, almost weekly basis between New Jersey and Cleveland. And Cleveland, we don't have a temple. And New Jersey, they have such a beautiful temple, and actually 3 temples or 3 centers. My question is, and they continuously keep, buying altars, $100,000, dresses, $5,000. I think now they're planning to acquire a Radha Krishna deities, I think $200,000. So they're very wealthy people in Jersey. Nice, great. So they spend so much on altars, on dresses, on wooden carvings and flowers and whatnot. And it makes me jealous, kind of. We poor Clevelanders, we don't have much. Don't you think? At least I felt that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he appeared many hundreds of years ago, he didn't care so much for that. He cared for Jagai and Madai, and he cared for spreading the holy name in the inner cities of Navadvip. What is your? I feel that as ISKCON brothers and sisters, we should be more focused on not how many flowers and how many gold and diamonds your deities are decked with, but rather how many plates of prasadam you gave in the prisons, which, Maharaj, you yourself being into the prison. Don't you think the balance is kind of little not quite right?
I appreciate what you're bringing up. It's a good topic. Thank you so much. Deity worship is important. Prabhupada thought it was especially good for grihastas. a way to ground them and, you know, to have a chance to be personal with God by dressing them and viewing them and bathing them and feeding them and so on. All that's very good, but perhaps we have to strike a good balance by also recognizing the conditioned souls that so much you want to bring them, those people, to see the beautiful personality of God in the form of the deity. Yeah, so we should balance it nicely. You know, our Prabhupada gave us a well-rounded program with puja and also for study and kirtan and japa and preparing prasadam and sharing it with others. But you know, definitely what Prabhupada did say through letters and in conversations, he said he considered that it's in the sharing that one gets special mercy. He considered it a higher principle, if you will. That's not an exaggeration. So by all means, have your temples, but also, you know, realize that there's a temple in everyone's heart. There's God in everyone's being. And so that means there's a temple there. So let's take care of those temples as much as we do the physical temples made of bricks and mortar and so on like that, right? So please don't get me wrong. We should just go for a good balance on this.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Definitely, you said it right. I mean, I don't feel any, you know, I feel you said it very nicely, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for asking the question. Yes.
Maharaj,
Yes.
may I just two short things regarding that topic. One, yes, Lord Chaitanya didn't establish temples because Jagannath temple was there, but he empowered the 6 Goswamis to build the great temples that we have in Vrindavan today. That's number one. And number two, I want to read something Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote. Oh, he said, the 1,000 karmis who have opened innumerable hospitals, old age homes, centers for poor and schools, and 1,000 jnanis who undergone severe tapasya and dhyan are insignificant compared to a single bhakta, Kanista Adhikari Vaishnava, once ringing the bell before the Lord's deity.
Okay, great. So do you want to, would you like to just summarize that a little bit? Go to Chandra.
Yes, unless we have a temple, how do we ring a bell in front of the deity?
Right.
So Prabhupada established 108 temples. So that gives the answer. Why temple is necessary? How can we worship God if we don't have the temple?
Yeah, so again, let's go for the balance. Prabhupada established book publications so that they can be read and distributed. Prabhupada also started a dynamic program of prasadam distribution in the form of food for life and so many other things. So all those things are important. You know, he again brought us a well-rounded program that would keep us occupied, engaged, and busy. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did travel. He traveled between temples, right? He went for darshan. But in the meantime, in between, he made contact with so many people and encouraged them in spiritual life. So he took a good amount of time to reach out to others and to reach in by having the darshan of the deities and so on like that. Yeah. So let's go for the good balance. Some devotees are going to have a preference, like say Haripad, I know you got your heart into distributing. You also have your heart into getting a center going. So I think you got a balanced look at things. And that is the Hare Krishna movement. Okay.
Distribute consciousness.
All right. So I think we should, I hope you all had a good time coming together today. And we'll meet again next week on Thursday for a more nectar hearing about the universal form. Okay, so arrivederci.
No.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
New Year. Hare Krishna.
Happy
Hare
New
Krishna.
Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. We'll see you next year.
Yeah, next year. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year,
Hare
Maharaj.
Krishna Maharaj. Happy New
Hare
Year.
Krishna.
Yeah, thank you.
Accept my humble obeisances.
Thank you.
Krishna Kripa Sindhu Payam Sapatitanam Pavanijum Vaishnavi
Haribol, Haribol. Krishna Shanti, thank you for coming.
Happy New Year, Maharaj.
Haribol.
Happy New Year in the new year.
Mataji.